أصحاب الكهف والرقيم أولياء الله का जिक्र कुरान करीम में है असाब औलिया अल्लाह अंबिया से नहीं है औलिया अल्लाह अगार में है बेचारे अल्लाह ताला फरमाता है कानून मिन आयातिना अजबा और हमारी अजीब निशानियां
लेकिन दीन की जिम्मेदारी सिर्फ उलमा पर भी नहीं बल्कि हर उस शख्स पर जो पढ़ता है ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह मुहम्मदुर रसूलुल्लाह सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम।
Without further ado, I would like to hand over the mic now to His Eminence Munazir Islam Sheikh Zainul Sadiqi Sahib. So my apologies. Before we pass the mic on, I would like to invite Maulana Tayyib Nasrullah Sahib to embrace this mehfil and begin with a short speech, inshallah Aziz. Please give him a warm welcome. Nara Takbir,
Allahu Akbar,
Nara Risalat,
Ya Rasulullah,
Nara Haidari,
Ya
Ulama Ahl-Sunnah,
Zindabad,
Astane Aliyah Munazir Azam.
Zindabad,
You're going to have to do a bit better than that. Astane Aliyah Munazir Azam.
Zindabad,
Astane Aliyah Munazir Azam.
Zindabad.
Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nusalli wa nusallimu ala rasulihil kareem. Amma ba'd, faqad qala Allahu azza wa jalla fil Qur'an al-Hakim wal Furqan al-Majid. ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين صدق الله العلي العظيم وبلغنا رسول النبي الكريم. أما بعد فقد قال الله عز وجل في شان حبيبه مخبرا وآمرا إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا مولانا محمد وبارك وسلم صل عليه. Dear respected ulama, brothers in presence here today, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I think the best way to start for me would be considering we represent the banner of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, would be to start with Isa alayhi sawab, and we should all read with love Fatiha Sharif for the awliya Kiram that we're remembering today. So if I could all ask you to raise your hand, read Fatiha Sharif, and that's the best way to start as far as I'm concerned today. So alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah Azza wa Jal, we find ourselves gathered here today to commemorate the lives of two great awliya, Nazir Islam, Hazrat Maulana Umar Shravi Sahib, Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayhi, and Hazrat Sahib, Rahmatullahi alayhi. That's how I would refer to them, because this is how, throughout my life, I've never really mentioned their name as such, and it's always been Hazrat Sahib Rahmatullah alayhi as far as I'm concerned. Having grown in a family where, alhamdulillah, we had the influence of these awliya, I'd like to share my personal experiences with you today. And alhamdulillah, I can say that since I was born, my father served his community, the mosque, for 35 years of his life. And as far as I remember, the influence of these awliya on my family has been the moment I opened my eyes, because I've seen my father in the work of deen. They have planted seeds whose branches today are spread all over the world. Whether we're in England today or any part of the world, the beauty is that despite so many years have gone by, but every year we can sit down and do zikr of Allah Azza wa Jalla and His beloved. And this is the sign of these awliyas to start off with. Now, being a young child at the age of 12, 13, I sat once in the company of a product of the vision that was having deen and dunya. And for me, growing up I see my mosque teacher, and he was the man with the beard that would teach me the qaida. And when I would go to the doctor, he was the professional. And there was this mix between the both. But having come under the tutelage, I would say, of the product of Hassan Rahmatullah alayh, I learned that there is no such a thing as deen and dunya. We create this separation as either we have deen or dunya. What the vision of Hassan Rahmatullah alayh has created is that deen becomes part of your dunya. There is no such a thing as, I'm doing the work of deen or you have dunya. It's have they incorporated both. And a very reliable source said that Hassan Rahmatullah alayh used to say that the knowledge of deen is like salt, namak. And one would say, why would you refer to the knowledge of deen as salt? When you look at a dish, it might look very nice, very beautiful, but you wouldn't know what's in there until you've tasted it. And when salt is missing, it might look good, but it doesn't taste nice. I mean, I wouldn't say that you go home and tell your wife, how much namak there is. That would cause surely frictions. But in the context of deen, you can be, a professional, you can be a doctor, an engineer, and a lawyer, but there will always be something missing until you have deen within you. That salt will be missing. And again, there's a million things I could share with you, because I've heard so much from reliable sources to how this vision came about. And one of them that always marks me is the fact that once Hassan Rahmatullah, they were so keen on bringing reform into people, bringing that change into people, and sometimes they would get really frustrated. And one day they were sitting down and they looked at a bulb, and that bulb illuminated the whole room, and the vision started from there, that create people that would illuminate wherever they would go, they would bring light into that place. And this vision came through knowledge. Now, I'd like to say that many of us spend all our lives chasing certain aspirations, whether it's professionally or, personally. But one thing that I think that has lacked over the years is that incorporating the knowledge of deen in our everyday life. Like, a lot of people used to ask my father, you've sent your son to Hijaz, you've sent him, I'm from Belgium originally, so I'm from the other side of the sea, so, people would say, you've sent your son to Hijaz, and what is he going to do? Is he going to lead 5 times namaz at the mosque, is he? And my father used to say very humbly, that's not the aim. My aim is that once I leave this world, I'd know that I'd have a son who'd put 2 hands together and would pray for me. And that really marked me. That's my father was somebody who had the influence, who had the opportunity to sit with us awliya, and with Hassan Rahmatullah alayh especially, and I had a guide within my own home. And I believe that every single person connected to this tree, which is our tree, no matter where the branches are, we all represent a leaf or a fruit of that tree. And this urs is an opportunity for the ulama ikram that gathered here today to water that tree, and for us to grow into individuals that would make that difference in the world. And I wouldn't like to take a lot of time, because I've got another 2-3 stories coming in my head that I would love to share with you, but understand that people have traveled from far, and there's so much more to come. And there's one thing that I would like to finish off with, and it's food for thought. They say that great societies are created by men who plant trees whose shade they know they will never sit in. And this is the quality that I think every single individual should have, and that's the food for thought. Nothing is everlasting. But do something today, not for yourself, but for the generations to come, they could sit under that shade. And I think this is what this silsila always represented. We have done work has always been done, but for generations to come. Wahid dawana alhamdulillah rabbil alameen.
Subhanallah.
Subhanallah walhamdulillah.